I've been shooting with the Sony FE 16 to 35mm F2.8 GM II for a few weeks now, and I want to tell you whether it's the lens you actually need, not just the one the spec sheet makes look good. If you're upgrading from a kit lens or switching from a crop sensor setup, you're probably wondering if this wide-angle zoom is worth the jump. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first thing that stands out is how much lighter this thing is compared to the first-gen GM 16 to 35. Sony managed to shave off about 200 grams, which might not sound like much until you're hiking to a sunrise spot with a full bag. For travel photographers or vloggers who already carry a lot, that weight savings adds up fast. But don't let the size fool you, it still feels solid, not plasticky. The zoom action is smooth, with just the right amount of resistance, so you're not accidentally shifting focal length mid-shot. Now, the real test for a wide-angle zoom is how it performs at the edges, especially when you're shooting wide open. I took this lens out at f2.8 in low light, trying to capture a cityscape with street lights bleeding into the frame. The corners held up surprisingly well, no mushy details or heavy vignetting that you'd expect from cheaper zooms. The bokeh is buttery, too, which makes it a solid choice for environmental portraits where you want the subject sharp but the background creamy. If you're shooting weddings, events, or anything where you need both sharpness and separation, this lens delivers without forcing you to stop down. I also tested it for video, since Sony markets it as a refined movie lens. Focus breathing is minimal, which means your shot stays consistent when you rack focus. That's a game changer if you're doing run-and-gun filming, or even just quick adjustments between takes. The autofocus is snappy, too, no hunting, even in tricky lighting. I shot some handheld footage at 16mm with the camera in a tight spot, and the stabilization in my body kept things steady enough that I didn't need a gimbal. For creators who move fast and don't want to fuss with settings, this lens just works. But here's the thing, this isn't a lens for everyone. If you're mostly shooting portraits or telephoto scenes, you might be better off with a 35mm prime or a 70 to 200mm. The 16 to 35mm is at its best when you're in tight spaces or need to capture a lot of scene in one frame. It's also not a cheap lens, so if you're just dabbling in wide-angle photography, you might want to rent one first. The price tag puts it in the serious investment category, and that's where the hesitation comes in. You don't want to drop this much on a lens only to realize it's not the right tool for your style. One practical weakness I noticed is distortion at 16mm. It's not terrible, but if you're shooting architecture or anything with straight lines, you'll need to correct it in post. The distortion isn't unique to this lens, most ultra-wide zooms have it, but it's something to keep in mind if you're picky about straight lines. Also, the filter thread is 82mm, which is a common size, but if you're used to 77mm or 67mm, you'll need to buy new filters. That's a small annoyance, but it adds to the overall cost. So who should buy this lens? If you're a Sony shooter who's serious about wide-angle work, whether it's landscapes, events, or video, this is one of the best options out there. It's lightweight for a GM lens, sharp across the frame, and reliable in low light. If you're a hybrid shooter who does both photos and video, the autofocus and minimal breathing make it a standout. But if you're a casual photographer or someone who rarely shoots wide, you might be better off with a cheaper zoom or a prime. At the end of the day, the Sony FE 16 to 35mm F2.8 GM II is a lens that earns its price tag by delivering where it matters most. It's not just about the specs, it's about how it performs in real-world situations. If that's what you're looking for, check out the link in the description and see if it fits your setup.